Hey, welcome back to the Quick Speed Shop. I'm Josh, and today we're going to work on a couple of cool things. I got some updates on the Dodge truck project here. We're going to move my box truck chassis and get on the trailer, get rid of the junk. Then I got a special surprise coming up at the end of the video that's something that's going to be super cool, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. Hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up for a like, and here we go. So last time working on this Dodge, here I left it, I was working on the chassis. You can see now I've got the engine and transmission out. Now I've got the chassis here ready to strip down. I was going to take this and we were going to do a tool review. We'll still do a tool review eventually, but I was going to strip the chassis with this tool here, the Contour SCT from Eastwood. I've decided I'm going to take this frame and I'm going to get it sandblasted at a local sandblaster. It'll come back in bare metal. I'm going to coat it with some Eastwood Rust Encapsulator Platinum and a matte black finish. And eventually it'll get fluid film on top of that, and it should make a really good basis for this truck. But it's got some heavy pitting that I want to really get the sandblaster in there. So I got to strip all the suspension off. This got the 410 gears like I told you last time. I'm going to swap the truck over to 355s. I'm going to use a Ford Sterling 10 1/4 inch rear end with a Dana 44 front end out of my other truck. The truck that we're building, the brown one. So I'm going to save these 410 axles. I'm going to save the transfer case, the 203 and all that stuff, and all this things. But I'm going to strip this thing down to the bare frame, take it, get it blasted, get it back. I did order the Rough Country 4-inch suspension kit that I talked about last time because the front springs are mixed matched and they're sagging real bad, and the back springs are a little pitted, and they got the super tall blocks in the back. So I've got the new Rough Country kit coming, which will have a 4-inch high lift all the way around with the steering arm, and that's got to, it'll get rid of the blocks in the back. So I'm going to be working on stripping this down, but in the meantime I want to go outside in the backyard before the daylight goes away. I've got my Ford box truck chassis. If you saw the video where I took the box off the truck and turned it into a shed, I've got the whole Econoline chassis and cab, and the cab's junk and I don't really need a chassis. It's kind of rotted, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to drag it around and put it out in my trailer and take it to the junkyard. And then at the end of the video here, we're going to pick up something cool from my past. I'll do a little explanation on that, but let's go outside and load up that box truck. Dang it. The old camper special doesn't have enough traction or weight to tow this thing. Blast. Alright, I'm going to have to get out a 4x4. I had to break out the 59 Willys. Got her hooked up now. We got 4-wheel drive, so I should be able to get it. The sun's going down. Got to do it fast. Let's go. Alright, here we go. Working. Oh. Well, there we go. Used the old Willys and finally got her pulled out. It was super tight getting around the corner there. I got 2 flat back tires now. Perfect. I got the get this thing staged over here where I can get it up on the trailer. I'll get the trailer out tomorrow, and I'll go from there. Alright, bam, it's the next day. Let's inspect the damage. Oop, the yard damage is not too bad, I guess. And it got super cold here last night. I woke up, it was 31 degrees and there was frost on everything. You can see it's starting to melt off the mercury here. It was all frosted up. So now I'm gonna get the box truck chassis loaded up on the trailer. I'll hook up the trailer to my green F-250 and we'll haul her on up. Here it is. It's over here chilling. 2 tires off the rims. Gonna pull my plate off this. Oh, the front tire is still holding there. How's that work? Anyways, yeah, I'll go. Yeah, the frost is just getting off the windshield now. I'll go ahead and get this loaded up and take her to the junkyard and offload it. And then we'll be back for the surprise in the end of the video. Alright, as you can hear, I'm towing the box truck chassis, and my wide pipe just blew wide open. It's rotted. When I built the dual factory exhausts, and I made a 3-inch exhaust on this thing with a hater pipe, I used a 3-inch outlet dual 2 1/4-inch wide pipe, and it rotted across the seam, and the whole top of it just blew wide open. So now I got wide open exhaust, towing a trailer. And it's going to be extremely loud, and I got to go through town. This is going to be exciting. Hopefully I don't get pulled over because this thing is loud. Oh well. Well, here's what happened here. It's kind of dark under here, but the top of my Y pipe, so I got this Y pipe here, is gone. It blew right off, so I got wide open exhaust from the motor. So I go from the factory head pipe, and I made this Y pipe, or I bought this Y pipe from Summit. And then I went to a 3-inch high flow converter to a 3-inch glass pack to a hater pipe coming out the side. And unfortunately when I did it, I took the factory head pipe up here and I cut the flange. I used to have a rectangular flange for the stock converter. I cut it off and I used these 2 pieces of pipe. I welded in some adapters, which are super thin now. Yeah, they're about shot. And I use this Y pipe adapter. You can get an adapter that bolts onto the rectangular flange and it goes to a 3-inch pipe. And I didn't realize that, so I've kind of ruined my head pipe here, but it's got 205,000 miles on it. I'm going to buy a new set of head pipes. They're like $130 in Rock Auto. And then I'll get the adapter piece for $50 that goes from the rectangular stock flange down to 3-inch. Then I'll cut this off and I'll put my converter and rest my exhaust back on. So wide open exhaust towing that box truck was so loud. Going through the towns and going uphill and everything, it was crazy. So I actually took the box truck. I got $250 for it. It was 120 gross ton. I actually took it to a closer scrapyard than I usually go to because the truck was just so loud. I didn't want to get pulled over. I would have had to go through like 3 towns. This is, you know, wide open exhaust, and it's very, very loud pulling the trailer. So got back no tickets, and I guess I'll just have to rebuild my exhaust system. I got 55,000 miles out of this one, so I guess that's not too bad. I'll put a new one on it, and we'll go from there. Okay, here I am. Here's the surprise I was talking to you about. I'm with the RET Mini Baja team here in their Baja Racing trailer. I got Graham and Brendan over here. Brendan? Yep. Over here, and I was actually on the team in 2001, 2002, and this is a car that we built when I was a student here, and I'm picking it up from the guys and I'll take it back to my place, and we're going to try to put it together. So we're just going to unload it here, but this car was built in 2001, and originally it was silver. Right now it's red, but it was raced in last race in 2002, so 20 years ago. So we're going to get it out and load it on my trailer, and it's mostly there. I pretty much remember a lot of it, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you don't want to get too close. You don't want to have that heavy tongue weight.
Yeah. It just sits right there. I just run some zip screws right through the floor, stick it right on the ground.
I think it's proper.
Could build it into a lowrider.
But pretty sweet. Okay. That's what he did. He bought standalone harness. Yeah. All right.
Okay, I'm back in the shop here. Got the mini Baja car inside. What I did is it's missing the shocks, obviously, so I made some link bars here just out of some 1-inch square tubing to hold it up to about ride height. This would have had Penske racing shocks on it from back in the day, coilover shocks. I have some build pictures of this car from when it was built in 2001, so I'll show you that in a second. But basically what you got is when this thing's fully dressed with a 10-horse Briggs and Stratton engine that was on the back of it, with a chain drive transmission and a snowmobile clutch and seat and all that. This car weighed about 340 pounds. It's all, I think, 1-inch diameter chromoly tubing. Now in 2001, the RET Mini Baja team, we had 2 cars. We had a primary car, which was orange. We had the secondary car here, which was silver originally. And then I think in 2002, I graduated, so I didn't race that year, but I think it's when it became red, because I have some pictures of this car as car number 10 in red, and that was probably the last time it was raced. But we built 2 cars. We actually had, then we took a 3rd car and went to South Africa and raced in South Africa in Pretoria, which was pretty cool, in November of 2001. That was a whole experience on itself. Got to go on safari, got to go to Sun City Resort, got to do the race, so that's pretty cool. But anyways, this car did, in 2001 when I raced it, we took it to 3 races. We took it to Kansas City State University in Manhattan, Kansas, and then it went to the Army base, which I can't remember the name of the base, but it was in South Carolina. We raced it in South Carolina, and then it went to a dirt bike track in Ohio, maybe like Mid Lakes, Ohio, or something like that, and a race there. So let me get out some pictures and I'll show you some build shots when this thing was new. Here's some photographs that I took building the car here. This is in the original silver powder coat, and you can see the Penske racing shocks, the same style of tires that's got on it now with the aluminum wheels. I've got the aluminum firewall, a replacement firewall for it, but this is assembling it in what probably would have been like March or April of 2001. Here's a shot from the rear showing the rear Penske shocks, the rear suspension is apart. This car only had calipers on the front wheels, each wheel, but on the rear axle it had 1 single disc brake, and the primary car, the orange car that I think I have a picture of here, had four-wheel disc brakes on it. It was a little fancier. So here's the car on the ground. It's got the fuel tank in it, same fuel tank it's in it now. Sitting on the ground, you can see the gearbox, which is a chain drive box, and it would use this Polaris snowmobile clutch. I have the chain drive box. I don't have the clutch or the engine there. This is in 86. I think this is in Ohio. This is the car in the original dress. It was silver and blue. You can see these are plastic panels, like kind of like plexiglass, and they wrapped them and put like vinyl numbers on them. It's number 86 on the front, number 86 on the front there, and it was silver with blue. Now this is in South Carolina. This number 24 here on this black box, this is a flotation device, because back then they used to have one race, you'd have to drive through water and the car would actually have to float. So it's got this flotation device on it that was a foam wrapped in like Kevlar and fiberglass. And we're doing a sled pull here. We're pulling this Humvee, and this is this car with a 10-horse Briggs pulling a Humvee down a track for one of the suspension and traction. Here's me in May of 2002. Just graduated. That's graduation day at college, and this is one of the primary cars from 2002. I didn't get to drive this car, but I'm showing off to my family or whatever here, the car in the shop. Here's a car in 2002 when it became red. I got the red number 10 sail panel piece here, and it's also doing a flotation race again. It's really going down in the mud, nose first, but this is the last time it was probably races number 10. And then you got a picture of, I don't know who this is driving it, but a picture of the car. Severely muddy. This must have been a different race because it doesn't have the flotation on it. But the car is red there. You can make out the RET on the front. And the thing is completely covered in mud. So how I got involved in this is I went to the Rochester Institute of Technology to get an engineering degree. and I was working in a CNC machine tools lab, and from like 98 to 2002 or 99 to 2002, something like that. And I ran all the CNC machines and mills, the lathes, made machine parts, research parts, things like that. And the Mini Baja team was in the shop next door at like a manual machine shop with Bridgeport mills and stuff like that. And I became friends with all the guys on the team back then, and I started making the parts. Like, I machined all the original uprights and spindles and brake parts. We made our own brake calipers. Actually, I've got one here. I'll show you in a second. But we made all the parts. These wheels that are on the front with the slots in them, I machined those wheels. I actually grabbed a couple more out of their trailer. They had a couple left, so I'm going to put the fancy wheels on this car, even though originally this car is a secondary car, just had blanked off wheels with no fancy pattern on them, but I'm going to put them on here. So I made, would have machined all the aluminum parts on this, the steering rack. I didn't design them, other people on the team designed them, but I machined them on the mill. The hubs, everything. This car, because the secondary car doesn't have our custom made brake calipers on it, it has store-bought ones, but the primary car, the orange car, had four-wheel custom made brake calipers, dual piston brake calipers, which I'll show you here in a second. The way I ended up with this car is my friend Ken, who was on the team a few years later than me, he somehow ended up with this car at his place and had it for 10-15 years. And I think they're going to try to restore the car back on like the 20th anniversary of the car. And then, like, with COVID and everything, they got it repowder coated and kind of half assembled, and then it didn't go anywhere, as I'm going to guess happened. And anyways, it just sat in their storage trailer, and the Mini Baja team reached out and said, you know, we're looking for somebody that was around in that time frame that'd like to get the car. And I said, yeah, I'd love to have it. So I gave them some sponsorship money for their pizza budget and went and picked it up today. And here it is, the 2001 silver / 2002 red RET Mini Baja secondary car with all the parts that I made on it, mostly still on there. So let me go, I'll go get the custom other parts I made for the primary car. I'll show you those, and then we'll finish up with a video for today. Alright, here's one of the front upright steering knuckles, hubs, and brake rotors. These aren't the rotors that we ran with these brakes. These are, I don't know why this got a steel rotor on it. Originally, we made some slotted rotors that were aluminum, then coated them in a friction coating. But anyways, I machined all these uprights, these steering arms. These are 70-75 aluminum. I think the uprights are 60-61. The hubs are 60-61. They've got a 4-bolt pattern. So here the brake caliper was anodized red. I believe the front 70-75 and the back is 60-61 aluminum. It said RET Racing machined into it. We had them red anodized, and I would machine them afterwards. And they would bolt onto the steering arm. And it's a 2-piece little caliper. We had little pistons in here. I used a keyway cutter to cut the slots for the fluid to get through. There'd be a bleeder on one side and a brake line on the other. And then they bolted together, kind of like a Willwood caliper or whatever. But we machined all these and had a whole bunch of them. I can't remember how many made, probably 20 of them or so. But that's the custom caliper. I think these are faded because we remade the back of these because they would tend to bulge the back where the piston was. They had to remake them out a little bit thicker, and the anodizing wasn't quite right. But that's why the wheels, the slotted wheels, we cut the pattern in the wheels so you could read the RET Racing through the wheels on there. So just an example of some of the parts we made. All this was all designed by people on a team. There's like a group leader for suspension and steering and stuff like that. They would design all this in a design program, and then I would draw it up on the computer and machine it in the CNC mill, and we turned the hubs on the CNC lathe and all that. So there you go, a little RET Mini Baja history lesson for you. So I think it's pretty cool. I got one of the original cars I helped work on back here. I'd like to reassemble and get it running and driving. Obviously, I have the chain drive steering, or the chain drive gearbox to the back. I don't have the half shafts, and I don't remember what half shafts I used. Probably like a 4-wheeler half shaft, I would guess. We had Polaris parts, so it could be Polaris four-wheeler shafts. But I would like to do that. I use the 10-horse Briggs overhead valve engine bolted on the engine plate back there. I'm sure I could find some kind of engine to bolt on it, or a 10-horse Briggs. The rest of it is pretty much intact. The steering rack is here, the original Wilwood master cylinder, and all the front brakes and everything are on it. And the rear, I could hook up a rear disc brake, no problem. I have the plastic guides that go with the side skirts that go with the number 10, so I could have it lettered up. I have the aluminum firewall that goes on there. I would have to make a seat, which was just a real simple like pan. I had Simpson 5-point harness that attached onto it here. The shoulder harness is attached there. And then these in race form were covered with like pipe insulation for 1-inch pipe for like that gray pipe insulation, and then we would wrap it with electrical tape, and we would do that down these bars and down these bars and this bar, anywhere where you would bash into it. This car is, you know, a 20-year-old design. A lot of the mini Baja cars now have a lot taller roll cage area. They're almost straight up and give you a little bit more room to get out of the car, I guess. And the suspension is a lot taller. These had those Penske off-road shocks on them, and can't remember the travel they had. They're about 15 inches long to get their correct ride height here, but I don't know the specs on them. I didn't set that part up because this car is pretty light. It's all chromoly. Like I said, it fully loaded with an engine. It weighs 340 pounds, so it's pretty light. I mean, you can pick it right up right now. Not too bad. So it's pretty light. They would go pretty fast, and you could jump them through the air just like a regular off-road racer. And they're pretty durable. This car went through, well, 3 races that I know of, and then the next year at least a 4th or 5th race. So I'm gonna guess it got raced probably 6 times, and the races, each race was a 4-hour endurance race plus the static events and the other steering and braking and hill climb and stuff like that. But so this has 24 hours of hardcore off-road racing on it at least, and it's in pretty good shape. I don't know if these are all the original A-arms with the original style that would have been on the car. And the frame doesn't look like it's had any repairs done to it. It's got a couple of dents in the front and a couple of dents in the back, but the brake light bracket's broken off. But other than that, I'm going to guess this is all the original framework. It's all thin wall chromoly tubing, so it's pretty durable. We've bent all this up. We'd have straight tubing and had a hydraulic bender and bent all these frame pieces and made the control and built, basically built everything on the car except for the brake calipers, the engine, and the snowmobile clutch. Pretty much built everything else from scratch. So it's 95% shop built. So that's it. Pretty exciting day today. Scrapping out that truck chassis, blowing the exhaust apart on my truck. Now I got to put a whole new exhaust system on there because it's a disaster. But I'm really happy to have the old silver/red mini Baja car here, and it'll make a neat display if anything else. But I'd like to one day get it going again. But kind of a neat trip down memory lane. I'm glad I've got the pictures. Now I know how to put it together. I'm like Dale Jr. with like the race car history, or Ray Evernham. I can start building my old race cars again. So that's it. Thanks for watching this time at the Quick Speed Shop. Next time I got something else going on. Who knows what's going to happen there? But you'll see it if you subscribe, and I will see you again. Bam. Doing cool stuff like this at the Quick Speed Shop. I'm a professional. Don't try this at home.